Good afternoon, Team Edwards. Welcome to the weekly town hall. Today is 2 December, the first Friday of the month, and it's
That's
Chief
right.
Ward-Swanigan, as you know, the command chief for the wing, joined today by Chief Swistak from the Mission Support Group.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
got quite the rundown, so I'll dive right into that. We're going to start out with our Warrior of the Week, of course, and then we're going to get an update from Sergeant Merriweather about our combined federal campaign. We're also going to have our historian here today, Mr. Tucker, to talk about the B2 and the B21. So that'll be exciting. In addition to that, we'll have Miss Chelsea Mastowski here to talk about a few things to include Winterfest. That's going to be coming up soon. Some CDC Child Development Center things, TLE, and some child youth program changes. So as you know, there's a number at the bottom of the screen. Please text in your questions. Time permitting, we'll be able to get to those after all of our exciting topics. But I think we should go ahead and kick into the Warrior of the Week. What do you think?
Got an action-packed day today. This is
All
awesome.
right, all right,
Okay.
let's do it. So
Right.
today we're joined by Jordan Eccles-Stevens from the LRS. So Miss Jordan, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you like to do. Tell us a little bit about your interests or whatever you want to talk about. And then let us know when you join the LRS team here for Team Edwards.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I've been working with LRS for a little over a year. My favorite things to do are hiking, and I like roller coasters. Yeah, that's about all I like.
Okay,
It looks like we got her on the drop door there of a, what
that's
is that?
pretty neat
At a
backdrop.
C-17 maybe? Can't tell exactly.
Yeah.
You're right on the edge there going out, so how
So,
cool.
ma'am, according to what we have, it looks like that you are or were involved, if not currently, the flight safety situation or responsibilities for the LRS. And I guess you were involved with the consolidation of a flight program. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
With
If you don't mind.
safety, I do monthly briefings for all of D Flight. So I get to go down there, teach them how to be safe, and I will do inspections and all that fun stuff. And with the consolidation, I believe it's the one for, I went back and I had found quite a few overdrafts. So found that and fixed that. So I saved, I think, about 5,000,
Yes, ma'am.
and that was exciting.
That's a big deal. Anytime you're saving the Air Force money, you're definitely helping
Absolutely.
out in a big way. And it says that you had to work with 15 different contractors.
Yes.
So that in itself was probably a challenge. But people like you that make it happen, that's why you're a huge asset to the team. So thanks for your efforts there.
It's a perfect example of what the folks are doing across the formation, and particularly in this case, the LRS, right? Just finding things that are kind of broken or need fixed, and digging in and getting to it and fixing it, which in turn, helps the Air Force with a little bit extra funds. So,
Oh,
so
yeah.
thank you so much for what you do. It's awesome.
So it says you're from Tooele, and I'm glad I asked you how to pronounce that. That's somewhere in Utah, I imagine.
Yes, it is a small town in Utah. Well, it's kind of big now, but when I was there, it was a small town with just a Walmart. That was all there was.
Nice. I am also from a small town environment. But yeah, I don't know. Tooele, that's my first time hearing about
Yeah,
that
I've
one.
never heard that one. Yeah, that's cool.
All right, cool. So thank you for joining us today. Do you have any questions for Chief Wistak or myself regarding the wing or anything that you're just curious about, ma'am?
I don't have any questions, but I appreciate you
Are
having
we
me
gonna let
here.
her off the hook?
I don't know. Should we?
You got anything for her?
Yeah. So what brought you to come here to work with us?
To work with LRS.
Yes. Here at Edwards Air Force Base.
Well, I know it's a great opportunity. My dad actually works on base as well,
That's
and
great.
so
Okay.
that was a good introduction.
Cool. Cool.
Awesome. Okay. Well, great, man. Thank you again. We appreciate all of our Warriors of the Week, in particular today, Miss Eccles-Stevens, for joining us. And so with that, I guess we will jump into our CFC Combined Federal Campaign update from Sergeant Merriweather.
Good afternoon, team. Master Sergeant Merriweather, and I'm one of your CFC campaign managers for the wing. And I am excited to be here to give some good news. We are already 60% to our goal in a mere in a mere short 6 weeks.
Wow.
So yeah, it's fantastic. So give yourselves a round of applause, give yourselves a pat on the back, because that is all because of you. And I must say a huge thank you to our key workers. Those are the folks that are our unit reps, boots on the ground down there working in, talking to the folks, spreading the word about CFC, getting those calls of the week emails, which I hope you guys are reading, and just talking about exactly what it is that you guys are pledging to. So again, fantastic stuff going on. We have another 40% to get to, right? Because our goal is 100K, right? We got another 6 weeks to go. And so I just ask you guys to keep pushing, keep giving. This is the season of giving, and until we reach that, before this thing ends on 14 January. So again, thank you on behalf of Lieutenant Halls. Thank you, and I hope you go forth and have a fantastic Air Force Day. Cool.
Wow,
Right.
that's real impressive. Over halfway through, and we're over the
It's a short amount
50%
of
mark.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe the comments I made a couple weeks ago, maybe they worked with when I was up here with the Vice. I think CFC is unique, right? Because you can find something in there you're passionate about. Pretty much anything. I mean, from A to Z, it's in there. There's so many different great ways and opportunities you can give back. Share a little bit for those organizations or causes that you feel are important to you.
Oh yeah, I've been donating to CFC ever since I joined, and in particular, I always find something cancer awareness, prevention, research related.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting. I was in Orlando for the Thanksgiving holiday, and in the mall there was someone campaigning for breast cancer awareness and prevention, and he was, explaining how to donate. And on there, I saw CFC, and I was like, oh, see, I've already done my part on that, but I will go ahead and add a little extra on the side, because this particular cause was helping the families directly as opposed to putting money into the research.
Exactly. So, and that's the key part of it, is you can find something there that speaks to your heart, and give to it. It's just an awesome opportunity. Maybe we could flash that back up there real quick. I think there's a QR code on there,
Yes.
There's a
right?
QR
You can
code,
just
yes.
give everybody a second to scan it if they want, and they can go there and scroll through and see what they want to give to.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right,
No, that's a
perfect.
big deal. Sergeant Merriweather, thank you for your efforts in helping to get that number where it is currently. You and your teammates definitely are a huge factor in our success with that. So I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're stiff arming people or what.
No, ma'am. It's
But
not
it's-
me.
but it's
the team.
working.
It's the team.
It's the team.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
right.
Love to hear it.
Okay.
You want to do any of your singing skills?
No,
as a
ma'am.
sample?
No, ma'am. I'm gonna leave that to y'all.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought I'd ask. Again, there's the CFC QR code on the screen if you would like to use that to go out and donate if you haven't already, or if you just want to give more. You have an opportunity to do that for another 6 weeks. The campaign runs well through the middle of January, so good on that.
Heck yeah.
Sergeant Merriweather, while we have you, do you have any questions for Chief Swistack, the wing, myself? Anything on your mind?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We always want to give you an opportunity.
I appreciate it, ma'am.
All righty. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Yes.
Up next, we're going to talk with our historian, Mr. James Tucker, for about 10 minutes to talk through some bomber history and some bomber future, if you will. So, Mr. Tucker, over to you.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, today, of course, this afternoon, streamed on all of our Edwards platforms will be the rollout for the B-21 at Northrop Grumman down at Plant 42. And in honor of that, we're looking back about 34 years to the rollout for the B-2 Spirit bomber. Our first flying wing out here at Edwards in about 40 years when it rolled out. It's, of course, the result of years of dedicated hard work, not only from contractors, but from Air Force personnel. Looking back at that story, it really starts for the public in 1980 when the Air Force admits that it's been researching stealth technology and it's moving forward. It wouldn't be until early in 1988 that the Air Force would really start commenting on the B-2 publicly. Obviously, it had been in the works for many years before that, and the specific information on the B-2 remained closely held through that entire period. But for those of us at Edwards, it's a very dear part of our history because the flying wing dates all the way back actually to the early 1900s. But out here, it really gets its kickstart with Jack Northrop, the founder of what would become Northrop Grumman, who was pushing for designs. These culminate out here in the Mojave with the test flying of the YB-35 and the YB-49. The YB-35 was an attempt at a flying wing bomber commissioned during World War II, but didn't see service. The YB-49 is more famous out here. It's the jet version. They stripped out the props and put in turbojets. And of course, the crash of the YB-49 in 1948 killed both Captain Glenn Edwards and the pilot of the wing, Major Dan Forbes. And the base would be renamed in Captain Edwards' honor the next year. But even that far back, they realized one incredible thing about a flying wing design. This, of course, is, Crosby, if we could click to the next slide, please. This is a design that has no major superstructure. Every inch of that leading edge generates lift. It's an incredibly aerodynamically efficient design. And they knew that back in the 30s and 40s, but they couldn't keep control as well because it's an unstable platform. And it would take the advances of fly-by-wire and computer-assisted flight to keep it steady in the air. But they did notice all that way back in the 30s and 40s that these things didn't show up well on radar. One statistic I pulled from a news article from the coverage of the rollout in '88 said that a B-52 has 1,100 square feet of radar signature. A B-1 has a little over 10 square feet. And the B-2 was projected, and of course this is based on available information, so it wasn't entirely accurate, but had half of a square foot of a radar footprint. And so it was a huge leap forward in that sense. The other interesting fact for us out here at Edwards is that all of these flying wings with their connection here would mark a long tradition, and it was 40 years roughly between the crash of the YB-49 and the rollout of the B-2. And though Northrop himself didn't actually live long enough to see the B-2 roll out, he was granted a very special briefing and was shown the first model of the B-2 so that he at least knew that his legacy was cemented before he passed. You know, the B-2, of course, would go on to play a major role in many of our campaigns. It would fly for the first time the next year. And the most interesting piece about that detail is that it was designed originally as an intercontinental bomber, right? It's designed to replace the B-1. In fact, the B-1B was scheduled to just be an interim, a sort of timekeeper until the B-2 came online. And then they decided they wanted it to actually fly low and do low altitude strikes. And so they had to completely overhaul the internal structure. It took over a year to redesign it after the initial design period. But again, today, in less than 4 hours, we'll see the rollout of the next step in this flying wing tradition from Northrop and the Mojave Desert and Edwards test in the B-21. So it's a fun story with a lot of twists and turns for the flying wing.
That is a fun story, and I'm a huge fan of our bomber fleet, largely because, well, they make things go boom.
That's right.
They blow things up. I'll
They
keep it at that. But
They
yes,
deter the bad guys from coming after us.
yes.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
the B-2 was definitely the one that, you know, kind of makes you pause as it goes by because it
still
doesn't
to
look
this
real.
day.
Yeah,
It's
it doesn't even
unbelievable.
look real when it's flying by overhead. And so I'm really excited to see the Raider and what that's going to look like in the
It's
sky.
going to be cool. I mean, we're living through history right now. A lot of us were maybe not born or very young the last time one was rolled out, and this is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first 6th gen aircraft. I think that the Air Force will own. Historians shaking, yeah, maybe.
The historian's going to avoid commenting on that
Okay.
because I don't know what's been
Okay.
done by
Okay,
other
gotcha.
pieces. But
Well, if he's not going to comment,
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't.
I don't know if I want to.
I read it somewhere.
double down on it,
Open
but
source.
yeah,
It
yeah,
said
yeah.
something about.
We'll see when they roll
6th
it
gen.
out what they have to say.
That'd
right?
be cool. Yes.
Cool. All right. So with that, I believe our PA team has a link that's going to be provided. That live stream of the B-21 unveiling will be starting at 16:30 to 18:30 or 4:30 to 6:30 here this afternoon. So I know there are, I want to say, at least 2,000 folks eagerly waiting for that live
yes,
stream.
absolutely.
There's going to be tons more where that came from. I'm pretty sure that most of the country that
I'll
knows
be
about it
watching
will
for
be
sure.
will
It's-
be
yeah,
tuned in.
Nothing else to do but watch that.
I don't see why if you didn't, or I don't see why if you knew you wouldn't tune in to just
Absolutely.
get a glimpse of what that's going to look like. So yeah, I look forward to checking that out myself, and it should be a real exciting time
Absolutely.
for our country, our nation, as we continue to demonstrate air power.
That's right.
So
Big,
yeah.
big day for the Aerospace Valley too.
big day for the Aerospace
Absolutely.
Valley. So cool. Mr. Tucker, any other things that you want to leave the crowd with in terms of history or the future?
There's always plenty of history here at Edwards, but I think that's enough for one day.
Alrighty. Alrighty, sir. Well, we do appreciate you coming out to join us and giving us that snippet. Do you have any questions for SwissDAC or myself?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
All right. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing. That's awesome.
that's awesome. So did you want to introduce Miss Chelsea? Or?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, talking, I think, Winterfest first. Chelsea Mostowski from our own FSS squadron, out there kicking butt, FSS, keeping everybody happy and, helping make this this place the best zip code in the Air Force. So over to you, Chelsea.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir and ma'am.
Yes,
Very excited to be here to represent FSS today. The first thing I want to share is Winterfest. Winterfest is our annual holiday event that's going to be happening next Friday, 9 December from 4 to 9, so 1600 to 2100. We're going to have so many activities, you guys. I really hope you come out. We've got everything from the tree lighting. Santa will be there and he'll also be able to take pictures. And then we have an awesome holiday sweater contest too. If you don't know the details, go to the Force Support Squadron Facebook page or edwardsfss.com. We're going to have, like I said, a lot of things. There's going to be stockings with goodies as a giveaway. There's going to be free hot chocolate, cookies, games. AFES is bringing their food trucks out, so you'll be able to take care of dinner. There's going to be holiday music. We're going to have a movie viewing area with a whole bunch of holiday movies to include some of your favorites like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, The Polar Express, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We're also going to have an adult hot chocolate bar. So if it's a little chilly and you need some extra spice if you're over 21, there'll be that available as well. The ugly sweater contest, I want to just highlight some of the categories real quick. So there's 4 categories: pets, family, youth, and adult. The prizes is going to be a $30 pet gift basket, 4-pack zoo tickets for families, 2-pack Knott's tickets for youth, and 2-pack Universal tickets for adults. So we're bringing some awesome prizes, so make sure to bring your family out. We're really excited to host this event.
awesome. Swiss, do you have an ugly sweater?
I do actually. Yeah.
Actually, I think I saw your ugly sweater. Did I not?
I think so. Last year. Yeah. Yeah. My wonderful spouse. I think we built it. Well, she mostly built it, but she makes me wear it. Yeah. It's pretty ugly.
You all are pretty
Yeah.
creative and crafty though.
Yeah,
So
you got to bring it, right? If you're gonna do it, you got to bring it hard. It's just the way it goes.
awesome.
But back to
Well,
Winterfest. We were both here last year for it.
yes.
It was an amazing time. There
It
were
was.
so many people out there. Santa came. There was opportunities for good food and just hanging out with folks. We had entertainment out there. It was just a really good time. So come on out. It's a world-class event in my opinion, and it's well worth your time. So
I
look
know.
forward to seeing you out there.
Last time I ended up spending quite a bit of money on some of the vendors that were out there. There was some really good stuff. There was an artist who had some really cool aircraft that he does by hand penciling.
Yeah.
And there was people selling all sorts of stuff, and the high school band was there.
Yeah.
So it was a really good time. So yeah, please come out and join us if you're able to make it out on the 9th. Up next, we will talk still with Miss Chelsea, but about Child Development Center and TLE changes, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes. So in September 2022, Secretary Austin published a document, and that document is being shown on your screen right now. It's taking care of our service members and families. And so I just want to highlight a couple topics of that. First, looking at TLE, the temporary lodging expense. So the immediate change is that the entitlement went from 10 to 14 days, but bases got the opportunity to request up to 60 days. So that request we did submit for fiscal year 23. We are still awaiting approval for that at this time. I haven't received any updates, but the minute that we get an update that was approved, we will definitely be advertising that and working with the Comptroller Squadron to make sure the entitlement and everything works properly.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note on that, that's a Herculean lift. This exception waiver, it starts with a few agencies or organizations getting together and kind of coming up with a percentage of housing availability, effect on members. Then we kind of package it all up, pass it through the wing. It goes through the MAGCOM, then up to Air Force A1, then on to the DoD to a kind of a committee that makes a decision on it. So it's a huge lift. It's awesome we were able to get into that and to get that pushed up. And what I heard, the last thing I heard, it's kind of sitting at that last step before approval to change the JTR so we can have that extension. So it's, this wing, the organizations on this wing are fighting for you to, get stuff we need to make it better for our service members. So. I thought it'd be worth highlighting.
I think that is noteworthy. And you had also kind of mentioned previous to town hall that in addition to that approval, we will still have to do that same process every 90 days to keep our status good. So although we're asking for the entire fiscal year, we'll have to go back to the trough, back with the data, pass it back up to kind of keep on extending it. And unfortunately, from what I'm being told, it's not backdated. It'll be active on the day it's signed, and then with that 90-day rolling window of reaccomplishing it. So I think we owed that answer back from the last town hall. Yes.
Yeah.
It does not get backdated. There's no grandfather piece to it, unfortunately.
No retroactive.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Cool, ma'am.
And then I'd like to highlight too that last fiscal year for 22, we were one of 5 bases that did receive that extension through the end of fiscal year 22. So we've done this before. We were trying to do it again and again, like Chief Swiss said. We're here to support you, and we're advocating for you.
Yes,
That's right.
ma'am. So that was TLE. I believe you were going to do CDC as well.
Yes. So in addition to the taking care of the service members and families document, there's also some awesome things that they are doing for the child development program. So they're doing significant investments in our child development program facilities and infrastructure. And as the interim child and youth flight chief right now, I've noticed the most common call we get is about wait lists. And so there's 2 things that you can help us with. You can help by becoming an FCC provider, and you can take care of your own children and still gain a paycheck. So it's a pretty sweet deal. Very little upfront cost. We do provide the foods and the toys. Miss Bailey Zier is our POC at the Maine Youth Center. So in front of you is like the steps to become an FCC provider. That will assist because our Child Development Center will work with the FCC provider on who's on the wait list and try to make sure that we're offering care to as many people as possible. The other aspect that you can help is if anybody's interested in becoming a child and youth staff member. So the awesome thing about the taking care of our service members and families document is that the direct care staff, so if you're a staff in the classroom, you get a minimum of 50% off the child care rate for your first child. And I say minimum because some cases you can go up to 100%. So your first child might be free and your second one would be 25%. So it's a great incentive to try to get some child and youth staff into our facilities, which ultimately help with our ratios and then help dwindle down that wait list. We're working really hard at the wait list and making sure that we can bring in and support as many families as possible. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I think that's all I had.
Well, no, that's a huge point on the CDC wait list. And a lot of folks can see that we have the capacity as far as the facilities are concerned, and they're often curious as to why there's such a backlog. And that has a lot to do, mostly to do with the staff.
Yeah.
the deficit in staff, if you will.
That's
So,
right. Yeah, they have to maintain those ratios, and we can't stick 50 kids, right, depending on ages, with one provider. We just can't do that. We have to maintain the ratios for the safety of your children. So, and there's multiple reasons there besides the rules. But I know I've met, well, I've been myself with my previous spouse. She kind of started out doing that way back when, some 20 years ago at Allison Air Force Base. Started working in the CDC, and they provided education, kind of a start in life. And if you get into it, in the right part of it, you get benefits to it too. It's a great, just to try it out and see if you like it. And now with these incentives where before you would have to pay for your child to go while you're watching other people's children, they're subsidizing some of that. So that's a huge win for us. And we have families on base, maybe spouses that are looking for employment. Give it a try. Maybe you don't want to go work every day at the CDC. There's the FCC option. And I know for a fact in the last few weeks, we've, I think, tripled our FCC providers, in-house providers, by approving a few more. It's a really awesome opportunity. So.
ma'am, while we have you here, I know I get questions often about the CDC, and if you're not able to answer it, please just let us know that we will have to get back with our folks that are chiming in. But one of the concerns is that sometimes there can be an outbreak of some sort in the CDC. Let's go with COVID, because we're all pretty familiar with how that one has impacted our CDCs. And let's say that because a child or someone in the building was positive and exposure caused us to have to send children home. Let's say a family's child has missed 20 days out of maybe the whole month because of different kids popping hot for COVID. But the rate is still the same, and is the DoD or do we have any information regarding what they're looking at in terms of your usage versus what you're actually able to do in terms of having your child in there? Does that make sense? I may have said it all backwards, but.
Yeah. I don't have the specific answer, and I will definitely look into that and see if I can get an answer back to you. But what I can tell you is that if there's anything that pops that's a communicable disease, we definitely notify the parents. And with our changes in CYP leadership, we are going to increase communication to our parents to make sure that they are aware if anything did occur in their room. And knock on wood, we haven't had any COVID cases that I know of in the CDC, but we work very closely with public health and our medical group advisor on making sure that we're following the appropriate processes.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome. Thank you for that. So that leaves us with our final topic. I guess the child youth program, those were the changes, or do you have something in addition to what we talked about for that one?
I don't have really anything further. I kind of mentioned it that I am the interim child and youth flight chief. So if anybody does have any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm in Global. In addition, our youth programs director, Miss Allison Skiles, is now the interim child development center director. And then Miss Rebecca Balkenbush, our school age coordinator, is kind of dual hatting a little bit from youth programs and school age. So we're very excited to move forward and improve the quality of life and all the services that FSS asks to offer to make 93523 the best zip code in the Air Force.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate you for coming and joining us today. I don't have anything further unless Chief Swistak does. I think.
No, I don't think so. Just thanks for coming out and seeing us and briefing these changes. It's always good to hear about the great things FSS is doing for our wing.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
If you want, you're more than welcome to hang out in case anything surfaces with any of the topics that you brought up. If not, we'll have to get back with the folks maybe at a later time if we're not able to answer. Again, please text your questions in 707-412-8922. And I have one thing that I would like to highlight that came up in a previous town hall, and that is housing wait lists. So we owe everyone a detailed answer as to why the housing wait lists are what they are. But I will tell everyone that based on the last update from September, we were at 66 folks on the 66 service members on the waiting list, 40 of which were 03 through 05, and then the other 26 were E1 through E8. And that was the case because we were at 99% occupancy. So we didn't have any vacant homes to, put those 66 members in. The 18 homes that were vacant were already accounted for with a signed lease for incoming personnel. And so we're all tracking that, we need more homes on the base. We have several initiatives to help to combat that situation. We're hopeful that maybe we can get the apartment complex off the ground soon, and and other things like that to kind of like make up for the lack of housing that will help our members out greatly. So you have to please bear with us on further details on what those changes are, what those incentives are going to be. We are diligently working things with the results from our housing requirements market analysis. We're working at the levels of OSD and beyond, and yes, there's just a lot of moving parts, and it's not as simple as snapping the finger. So
That's right.
So yeah,
we all wish it was. Right?
I know.
We wish it was an easy, quick kill.
Because we
fix.
definitely would fix it. We would have had it fixed by now, but it's levels much greater than the wing that are required to give us approval and authorities,
That's right.
funding, you
But
name it.
The good news is the wing hasn't stopped, right?
Yeah.
The wing isn't stopping, fighting for it and making sure we get what we need here. I see it, from my purview, probably more than the average person would, but you guys are killing it, and you're making sure that our voices are heard and all of our airmen's voices are heard for what we need here on Edwards.
I definitely feel confident that there isn't a vignette that we are not aware of and that we have not submitted forward in support of justification to help us with things
right.
like the apartment complex and maybe more single family homes and all the other efforts that would help us with that whole scenario. So please keep your feedback coming. Please know that we're diligently working behind the scenes, and we value your inputs. That helps us to go forward and brief the right people at the right levels to make those changes that are required. So
That's right. It's awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to take a question? I think we have one in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Why are there only 4 scheduled wing training days for 2023, and why are they dwindling from previous years? There was 12 in 21, and then we had 8 in 2022. So that's a good question. I want to say that part of the reason is the increase in the number of family days for
Significant increase.
Yes. So our family days went way up, so there weren't as many days in the calendar for flying, or for training days, or there's conflicts between flying and training days and family days. It's probably a better way to say that. So with us having more family days, there's not as many days in the calendar for us to have those training days and also get the number of flying days that we need in as well. So that is part of the reason. If there's additional reason behind that, I'm pretty sure my teammates will be chiming in here shortly, but for right now, that is what I know.
Well, I know some of it was some syncing between the groups and organizations on Edwards. So a training day doesn't mean just a training day for XYZ organization. It's supposed to be all organizations to the max extent possible. And I think we got there through the talks we had to get, it brings it down to just 4, if you want to look at it as just, but it's in totality.
Sure.
So there's goodness in that, right? The MSG can take a training day now on those training days, whereas before we really couldn't. So there's some goodness there.
It does no good to have one group on a training day and
That's
the rest
right.
of them rest of us cannot participate. So trying to sync is definitely part of that problem.
I saw it as a win personally, and from my purview in the group.
Yes. I know in particular, when we would have training days, Med Group would not be on a training day. And so it was just an influx in the Med Group, and it just did not align. And that's just one of many examples of how we ended up with the 4. But if there are additional reasons to that, we will definitely provide those. So thank you for the question. The next question, you want to read it off?
Sure, yeah. Well, I think it's on the screen now. So what are your thoughts on the My Eval pause? I think it was the right thing to do. I think maybe we were speeding a little bit, accelerate, change, or lose, in that idea of getting something out there and trying to break it, right? We were flying kind of I don't know, lack of better terms, we were building the airplane as we were flying it. And we finally got to the point where, well, maybe we should bring it back down, put it on the ground, and do a little bit more structural work to get it where it needs to be. There's goodness in it. We can catch up, right? Kind of doing the old-fashioned way, kind of doing the EPRs through email on the older forms. And that'll allow my eval team to kind of reset, rebuild a little bit, restructure, like I said, kind of build the bones of it a little bit, and then push it back out, and it'll be the system of record. It's just a matter of when. So I think the my eval pause was a smart thing to do. I don't know if you had any thoughts.
No, I agree with you. That was well said. I think that we definitely needed to look at that as trying to fight through some of the issues with the application. We're causing a tremendous strain on all parties involved, if you will.
Absolutely.
And so especially our FSS, MPFs, all those folks that are like right there in the trenches when it comes to processing that stuff and making sure it gets to the right levels. I'm relieved that they can be a little relieved until we can actually get a product out that is going to function properly, if you will. So
that's right. And our MPF folks, this will equal a little bit more work on them because they'll be manually processing the cases. But I was assured that they're ready for it.
And I think that
get it done.
They're working with something that they know how to work, if you will. So they're familiar with what they're going to be working, whereas before, working through a new thing that doesn't work like it's supposed to, that's a totally different headache. So.
That's right. Our experts were learning how to use the system as well. So we're in a better spot.
Okay, so it looks like I got to phone a friend in to confirm that or validate that, yes, the training days, with the increase in family days, we're not able to do any additional down days due to flying and meeting our mission and customer needs. So wow, okay.
That's good.
That helps.
Spot on for that. That's it's always good to have
Sometimes
the
I
right
know
answer.
stuff.
Yeah, right.
Cool. All right. Well, let's see. Like I said before, if you have questions, don't hesitate to text us in. We've got another 22 minutes or so, 23 minutes. And we're here to take your questions, your concerns, and do our best to answer and facilitate anything that you might have for us. In addition to that, in the meantime, as we wait, I guess, did you have anything additional that you wanted to get into?
Yeah, I have a couple things. So in MSG, we're kind of like the go-between, if you will, with AAFES and DECA, or the Commissary. The Commissary is going to change its hours. They're moving their hours back to pre-COVID times. Another good sign, maybe, knock on whatever, that we're out of it. That are going
You got a wooden knee?
Yeah, baby, right here. We're going back to pre-COVID hours on Wednesdays. So previously, they were opening on Wednesdays an hour early at 09 or 9 a.m. To kind of service our retiree population. They're going to revert that back to 10 a.m. On Wednesdays. And that's really the biggest change there. And that'll start December. So if you roll by the Commissary and think you're going to go there at 09 on Wednesday, it will not be open. They have put signage out and to let customers know who maybe don't watch this broadcast. Something else, good news, I think, where is it at? Our barbershop on base can now take electronic payments. They had kind of an issue, a new program that came in, or a new point of sale system that came in, and it was not working over the old lines they had. So our new commissary GM, Courtney, she made a deal to get a kind of a temporary fix in there, so those systems would connect, so they can take electronic payment, no more cash. Other good news, they're going to do a trial. It's on as we speak, of staying open an hour later on Mondays and Fridays. So previously they closed at 1700 or 5 p.m. They're going to stay open until 1800 or 6 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays to kind of just see if there's an appetite for the barbershop to be open at that time.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good news.
That is good news for some.
Absolutely.
I don't know that I need a haircut. But
yeah, I mean, my hair's
if they ever start doing eyebrows or something.
I did ask AAFES to look into that. We had to sit down with the GM just a few days ago, my boss and her, and just to see the idea, the reality of maybe bringing a not a barbershop, but a beauty shop in. Some places you see that. I don't know if we have the population that would utilize it, but they're going to explore that. So no promises on that, but we've asked them to look into it.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my first observations when I got here, along with no GNC. And you're absolutely right. The response that I received was, we used to have those things.
Yeah.
And the foot traffic was not there to support them sustaining. And so they had to move, they had to leave. And so same thing with anything else that we have over by the DX. If we're not using it, they're not going to be able to sustain.
right.
And so please keep that in mind for our vendors and anything that we open in those areas. We had a flower shop, for instance.
That's right.
I believe something similar must have happened. If one or two of us is going in to buy flowers maybe once or twice a month, that's not going to hold up. It's not a good business.
Yeah, they're not going to stay open
yeah.
just to be open.
Yeah, so
unfortunately.
those business practices have to be on par. And so, yeah.
So with that, right, the barber's going to be open a little bit later on Mondays and Fridays. So you get in there at that time, solidify that it needs to be open that late, and we'll be able to keep it that way.
And that was a similar thing that we did with the shopette.
That's right.
We wanted to do 24 hours. We wanted to stay open to midnight as long as we could, whatever that would be to help our folks on the base. And right now we're at 10:30?
10:30.
10:30.
Yeah.
And I don't know what those numbers look like. I don't know how we're doing there, but I'd be curious to see if we're meeting the mark there.
Yeah,
And can justify now midnight, if you will.
That's right, maybe a little bit later.
So if we're using it and we can show a need, that there's an influx around, let's say 10:25, I don't know.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, maybe they would see a need, but it's stuff like that they look at and to determine, extending things. And so I'm excited that they're doing a trial with the barbershop.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And Hunt's Brothers Pizza, have you tried that yet?
I tried it. Yes.
That's going gangbusters over there.
I see.
talked
There's
to
a
them the other
lot
day.
of
They're actually
traffic.
talking about putting a little more infrastructure in
Oh, okay.
to be able to store more products. They're selling them as
Oh
fast
yeah,
as they can make them.
they're
It's good news.
constant.
It's good news.
Yeah, I did get a chance to try it. I don't know if my diet would
Yeah, it's
allow
not,
me to partake in that on a more frequent basis, but I would agree with folks who said that it was good. So if you have not had a chance to try the Hunts Brothers, please go check them out at the shopette.
heck yeah.
Cool. What else you got for us?
I think that was rounding it out, I believe.
Okay. Do we want to talk at all about fam camp?
We can.
That's another question
For sure,
that's
yeah.
been arising here lately.
That's one that's been it's been burning a little bit here as of late. We're kind of at the point where fan camp's we always had one or two openings, but we're at a point now where they're full. And unfortunately, we have to go look at it at a priority basis, being 1 through 7 priority. First being people that have to live on base, K&E, key and essential folks, and then active duty, and then going down to waterfall. So what we recently had to do, like I said, unfortunately, we had some folks that were allowed to stay longer than what the AFI says we can let people stay. It says about 6 months, 180 days. There are some folks that were there longer than that, and we have lower priority, or priority 1 and 2 folks that are waiting to get in. So we had to kind of go by the length that these folks were in there, and I hate to say the word evict, but that's the word we used, to evict some folks, to kind of make space for those higher priority people. It's tough, but it's probably the right thing we had to do, to kind of enable those folks that are coming in to have an option for housing, albeit in some cases temporary. It's an option.
Sure. I mean, we do the same thing across the board. If there are key and essential chiefs
That's right.
that need a place and the chief circle is full, if there's someone that's not a key and essential chief that's in that circle, they would have the same situation where we would have to make room. Same thing on Officer Row or Palo Verde or any of our streets where we have specific designations for homes. When we allow for an exception, we let the individual know or the family know that you are definitely welcome until the situation changes. And here is a prime example of the situation or the scenario changing.
That's
and
right.
so it is it's where we are right now.
It's unfortunate, but it's it's the right thing to do. And sometimes the right thing to do is not easy.
That's right.
Well,
I hope that answers any questions that were surfacing around the fam camp scenario. It looks like we have a question in. Hello. Will the commissary open up to contractors that work on the base? My answer is no.
Looking at me
So far.
So the commissary is it's a DoD agency, and it's funded with appropriated funds. So AFES is able to let certain people shop there. They were able to expand their patronage, not to contractors, but to people that aren't necessarily active duty affiliated or retirees. So we open it up. Like my dad's he's a combat veteran, not a retiree. Now he can shop at AFES. He still can't. Well, in some cases they can shop at the commissary also, but let's not go down that rabbit hole. But for contractors, no, unless you have a reason to that. A lot of that stuff's subsidized, and the cost of operating the commissary is subsidized. So we cannot unfortunately let contractors shop at the commissary.
Awesome. Yeah, I was looking at you, of course.
Yeah.
New question. Is there any word on bringing back the sick program at the pharmacy to allow families to get certain over-the-counter medication instead of having to purchase at the DEC or Rite Aid? So this did come up recently. I do know that the Med Group is looking into how they can bring that program back. So we will definitely get a status on where they are and let everyone know if we're able to do that in the near term or if that's gonna not be a reality. So more to follow on whether or not they can bring that program back, unless you know anything different.
I don't. I haven't heard anything about that. I do remember, because I've been in a couple decades now. I do remember a time back in the day where you can go get Flonase. Maybe it didn't exist 20 years ago, but you can get over-the-counter medications for your family. It was a really cool benefit. It was.
Oh yeah. Next question. With the on-base housing shortage, has leadership considered bringing back the on-base mobile home park?
I haven't personally heard anything about the appetite or interest for a mobile home park. I've heard stories of it. It used to reside somewhere near the shop at, I believe.
That was not a wing leadership decision to take that away. That was at higher levels that they deemed mobile home parks insufficient for bases. And so that was not just Edwards, that was across the board that those were removed. Yeah. So wing leadership is not necessarily considering bringing those back. However, we are working the apartment complex and the increase in single family homes in lieu of that, if that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think that's the right answer.
Yeah.
The apartment buildings is the right answer. More
right.
Single family homes. It's not knocking on trailer parks, but it's a real building, if you will, or permanent building built to house our service members is the right answer. It just takes a little longer to get there.
Yes, it does. And so we hope to have an update. I don't know, I can't say or give a date as to when that will be, but we're getting really close on being able to provide an estimate as to when we could actually start to break ground on the apartment complex. Any more information on the tiny homes or the other options for recreational housing that we kind of looked at in the past?
I don't know. Miss Stowski's still here. Maybe she can chime in on that. I think that because we were going to go down the FSS route to do that. I think so.
Ma'am,
I know that's still in the planning stages. So we're considering it, and we're looking at funding to do like a Muroc Acres concept. That's what Major Moyer has called that. So it would definitely be some type of residential or not residential, recreation lodging. That concept is within the Air Force. But yeah, that's still in the planning stages, and we don't have any further information on that as of yet.
Okay. No worries. Well, I don't have anything at the moment. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
So recently we kind of changed the rules for who could eat and when folks could eat at the DFAC, which is great news. You go over there at pretty much any meal period besides probably midnight meal, because a lot of people aren't working at that time, and it's full of our civilian team members, contractor team members, active duty, and GS civilian workers. It's awesome. One thing I'm going to ask you though is if you see a meal card holder in line, or somebody looks very young, probably, you let them go in front of you, right? Our meal card holders, that is their primary place to eat. They do not get the extra money in BAS to get meals other places. So just move over, say, hey, are you a meal card holder? Come on and get in front of me. Just give them priority in the line. We're working on through our marketing, FSS marketing, to get some signs up that kind of say that. But my fear is a lot of times the very young airmen, and myself included, probably at that age and rank, I may have been resident to not say, hey, can I please get in front of you? Just offer it to them. A lot of times they're in a hurry to get through. So
Yes, they are. Some of them have 30 minutes to an hour to grab something
Exactly.
and get back to work. And if they walk in and see a long line, oftentimes they just turn and go the other way. So
absolutely. And we don't want that. We don't
yeah.
want folks skipping meals because there's a long line to get an omelet made or something like that.
So if you have young airmen that are on a meal card, let them know that they have priority. Whether the sign's up there today or tomorrow, they have priority and they can go to the front of the line to go around people that are not in uniform. The same way you would see at a BX or a shop ed from 11 to 1, that is prime time for them to cut ahead, if you will. So.
Absolutely. And if anybody has issues with that, find a chief and we'll be happily explain it to you why they should have a priority. Awesome.
Okay. Looks like we have a new question in. Any news on the NGAD project? I certainly don't have any updates on the NGAD project, unfortunately. No. We're going to have to phone a friend on that one and see if we can get a status so that you can get some details on NGAD. Let's see what we got from our trusty PA folks in the back. Mobile home park was also created. Oh, it created competition issues with base housing. So they switched. So that happened when we switched over to privatized housing. So that's another reason why they
that makes a lot
pull
of sense.
those out.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's more detail on that piece. No further information on NGAD, but please, if you have any other questions, feel free to chime those in and we'll get to those. Meanwhile, I guess, how was your Thanksgiving? I didn't get to see you. Did you get to serve at the DFAC?
I did. It was great.
Oh, that was awesome last year.
I was carving up some ham. I had the easier job, and Colonel Caspers was carving on some turkey. We had a bunch of senior leaders out there wearing their whites and the cool chef's hats, and saw a lot of happy faces coming through and getting a pretty hearty meal, right? We were supposed to give this size of serving. We were given that size. So it was really cool. Wonderful desserts out there. It was a good time. It really was.
That's awesome. Yeah. I had to miss that when I went over to Florida for the holiday. But yeah, that's always rewarding to be able to serve our folks at the DFAC.
It is. Yeah. It is. Just to see them come in and kind of just chat with them a little bit, see what they're up to and where they're from. And I just sat down with an airman today. I try to, because we're relatively smaller here, all of our new inbound airmen in my group, I try to sit down with them. And I was talking to a senior airman Long today. She just came from Ramstein. She's down at LRS supply troop, and she's like, "Well, what's your inspiration? What gives you your inspiration, Chief?" I was like, "You know what? Talking to people like you, getting to know your story." She wants to be a flying crew chief, right, or a load master. Something she wants to be on airplanes and fly. I was like, "You're young. You're starting out. You've been doing this thing for 3 years." As a volunteer, and you have these big dreams and ideas. It's inspiring to me. She's like, you find inspiration in me? I was like, absolutely. She's like, wow, I'm like a star.
That is awesome.
Yeah, how cool was that?
Yeah,
How-
that
how
is
neat
very
was that?
cool. We had an awesome week. We got a chance to pin on Chief King, and one of the
right.
highlights of his promotion was talking about how oftentimes when you see a chief that's doing any time over 20 beyond their active duty service commitment for the stripe, they are there because they care. They are there because they want to serve and continue to be part of something greater than them, contributing to our nation, if you will. And it's just a big deal to I guess, be inspired by airmen, and oftentimes that is what is keeping us here.
Absolutely.
It's when it's the people, it's the new folks coming in, the new generation, and wanting to see them blossom, and that is just one of the highlights of why we do it.
It makes you feel good towards the end of this, this career, 20 some years, that we have these bright, shiny airmen,
Ambitious,
and our civilian airmen, right, all across the board that are willing to sign up and be here and do this and carry that torch, if you will, to keep us as great as we are. It's huge. And then we were able to hand out some chief stripes just the other day too. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and Step was a huge deal.
That's right. Yeah.
We had our SEER airman who was able to get promoted to tech sergeant. So that was an awesome day. It really was. It really filled my heart, filled my cup, and we went out on a high note that day. So it's always good. It's always one of the highlights. General Heiger had the opportunity. He often doesn't get that when results come out and stuff like that. He's often on the road or TDY or tied up in something, and he had the opportunity to get out there and go recognize our folks. And so I was excited to see him excited because I know that those happen few and far in between. So it was just an all-around good week, if you will.
It was. It's always cool to deliver smiles. It's just, there's nothing better than, and that's what keeps me going, right? Is watching others achieve things that are amazing.
So you say smile, and I think that that's a good segue into, as we approach the holiday season, coming off Thanksgiving and heading on into all of the other holidays that are around this time of year. Making sure that we connect with folks and check on each other, make sure that we're all good.
Right.
Chiefs need to be checked on as well.
That's right.
Generals,
That's right.
any rank, it doesn't matter. We're all people, and we all need somebody to make sure that they lay eyes on us and that we're doing well. And so civilian, doesn't matter if you're wearing this, just make sure that you're looking out for each other and that everybody feels valued and that they feel like they're part of the team, because that's ultimately what it's about.
That's exactly what
For this mission to be a success, we have to be there.
We need every one of you here.
That's right.
Tomorrow and the next day to do
right.
that mission. And that's a good point. I wrote that down. Sometimes the holidays aren't happy for everybody. Right. Sometimes they're hard times for others. So just look, left, right, laterally, however you want to look at it that way, up, down. Just check on each other. We're family. Sometimes you don't get to pick your family, but we're family, and we need to check in on each other. Say, how you doing? How you doing, Dee? You good?
I'm good.
You're good. Yeah.
Because you guys make sure of that.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Exactly.
I definitely have some good wingmen.
That's
My
right.
boss, the front office staff, first sergeant team, the chief net, it's really good.
It is good.
It helps.
It's a family.
Yeah. It's a
So
family.
proud to be part of it.
Me too.
Heck yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we're within our last minute or so. Right now, there is no other questions coming in. You still have another 35 seconds or so to hit us up, 707-412-8922. If there aren't any other questions, again, don't forget to tune in for the live stream of the B-21 at 16:30. So
It's a few hours from now.
Yeah, we're getting close.
I'm
and
excited.
so,
It's
yeah.
gonna be cool.
Couple of hours, 2.5 hours or so, and I wonder how many folks are showing online at the moment. PA, what do you got for numbers?
3,000.
3,000
Wow. Okay. All right.
are
Good.
sitting and ready,
Good news.
and that's just of what we know. So
That's 2 hours early.
That's on our YouTube.
that's just YouTube, right?
On
Yeah,
ours.
on our Edwards YouTube
Watching us right now?
No.
Okay. Okay.
for the link.
All right. Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
amazing.
Great. I guess we have another 40 seconds or so. I guess if you have any kudos that you want to leave everybody with, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, across the base, and of course, I'll hone in a little bit on MSG formations, but you know, over the holidays, there's some folks that can't take time off, right? That's your defenders. They're making sure that everything on this base is protected and safe. As you transfer out, you know, in and out, they're there 24/7 every day, no matter what's going on, what holiday is. So as you're coming through the gates, you just thank them, right? Just say thanks for what you do. Also, to think about that, right? We have EMS on this base, right? Which is near and dear to my heart, just like defenders. Because if something bad happens in my house, I get hurt, kiddo gets hurt, spouse or somebody else's spouse, they're there within minutes to make sure they're taken care of, because our nearest medical facility is pretty far away.
Right.
Then to think about our firefighters out there, same thing. You know, the holidays don't necessarily it means something to them, but it doesn't stop their mission. So you see them running around, you see them around base. Just think of what they do over the holidays. It's vitally important that they're doing what they do, and you know, sometimes they can't take the time off. So just thank them.
I second that. Thank a first responder anytime you get a chance. If you're coming
Absolutely.
through the gate, check on them the same way you would anybody else in the family. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and sign off.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Have a great weekend, everybody. And we will be signing out from the center of the aerospace testing universe.
All right.
Enjoy.
Have a good weekend. Boom.